Yo, what's going on, y'all? Just be your boy DJ Anonymous on the episode of Sports Biz Music. Um, now I want to talk about last episode, or last video. Had a little bit of politics talk. My bad, y'all. A little bit of politics talk. I rarely even talk about that, but whenever I have guests on the show, or when I do have guests on the show, I always invite them. If they talk about it, I'll talk about it. It's maybe probably was two times I talked about it. But anyway, I want to talk about the Jim Jones versus Nas. I'm trying to catch up with everything, y'all. And it's just me. It's not. I'm trying to go with the trends that I really, I have my two piece. Everybody know I love music and stuff, especially hip hop and rap. And I just had to say this. First of all, shout out to Jim Jones because he's a great marketer. Like he really do like he really the trend. Like whatever he say or whatever he do, it blows up for like a second. It gets hot for like a good second for a few months or so. And I love Jim Jones, you know what I'm saying? Jim Jones' growth throughout the years, ever since I started listening to hip hop. I remember when Jim Jones wasn't even a rapper like that, you know what I'm saying? He was more like an enforcer, or people say he was an enforcer, or he was a manager for Dipset, or, so he was behind the scenes, but, we all see him in the videos. So that's one. Two, people we got to stop disrespecting Nas. The subject maybe is Jim Jones or Nas, but really the true subject is we got to stop disrespecting Nas. Like, Nas been doing this since '94. Like, people forget about that. Like, Nas, like early '90s. Like, Nas started off when he was like 16, 17 years old. Nas, as a rapper, he got a long career, he got a long career, and throughout the years, one of the, I guess, critics of Nas is that, Nas don't know how to pick, not producers per se, but he don't know how to pick the right beat. But he always come out with hits. He always come out with great songs. And the last few projects he had, like Magic 1, 2, 3, King Aziz 1, 2, and 3. And this is modern, like this is like recent. This is past between 2 to 5 years, And it's just crazy how people still, not everybody, but like some people still doubt Nas as an artist. I'm not even saying as a rapper, as an artist, as a poet. And like when I was growing up, I had a lot of influences. Like, coming from the South, like, of course I was influenced by Trick Daddy, I was influenced by Scarface, I was influenced by anything that my brother, my older cousins and them was listening to. But they also listened to, East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, Midwest rappers, every type of music, especially, growing up, I was like the youngest child and the youngest grandchild. So like, I'll listen to the oldies, I'll listen to Caribbean music because, my old girl, my grandma and them, they from the Bahamas. So like, I listen to that. Like, I was listening to a whole bunch of music, but hip hop was like my first love, like I never put down. And I remember, and it's funny because me and my wife was talking about this. I like, and my homeboys too, like we was talking about like eras. And like, even though, like for example, Tupac, Biggie, Nas in a way, and then of course Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, uh, all them boys, like De La Soul, all them boys, like they technically was a generation before us. But really, Nas, even though he started young, I count Nas as my generation. But he came like he was in his prime when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. You know, so I could say from like Jay Z, Nas, DMX, Ja Rule, you know, Trick Daddy, Outkast. Like even though like I said, they came out like, I mean they was out when I was here, but like really like listen to music. Scarface, not really, not in his prime, not really. Um, who would be considered like I'm not even talking about like the Rick Ross and all of them. I'm not they of course my generation for sure, but I'm talking about the ones that was in that gap for us 90 babies, the ones like early 90 babies, like that was born from I want to say 1990 to like 94ish, you know, 95, 96. Cause when Pac died and Biggie died, I was 4, 5 years old. But their music was, you know, generational. It lives on, you know, to this day. And you can say the same thing with the rappers before, especially, you know, like people like Nas and Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying, DMX, like Ice Cube, another one. Ice Cube was out, you know, like NWA, they was out before I was born, but like Ice Cube and West Side Connection, like they was in a prime when I was like in elementary school and middle school. So I kind of count them as my generation. Like only the rappers I don't really count as my generation. It's like the Rakims, um, LL Cool J. Like he's another one that's generational, but I don't really count him too much as my generation because I got him towards like the end of his prime. Who else? Slick Rick, that was before my time. You know, Uncle Luke and them was before my time. UGK is another. It get confusing with music because you know music you could kind of say yes and no, but really for me, my opinion, like Trick Daddy, Nas, Jay Z, DMX, Q, Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott, Outkast, 3 6. You could say Bone Thugs. Eminem, of course. You know the Snoop Dogg's, the cause Snoop Dogg another artist. You know that's generational. Who else? It's a lot, but I'm just trying to like pinpoint like who's really direct with my, you know, as I grew up. Like, of course, the 50 Cents, the Ludacris, Ross came a little bit later. Memphis Blink, The Game, you know, who else? Nelly, of course. The whole Dipset. Kanye. Like they in my generation, you know what I'm saying? And T.I., of course, Jeezy, you know what I'm saying, Gucci, Yo Gotti, like they in my generation, you know what I'm saying, 8 Ball MJG. They technically in my generation. But like for me at one point, Jay-Z, like I give y'all my top 5 right now in no order. Nas, Jay-Z, J. Cole, Eminem. No, Eminem wasn't my. You know what? He is still my top 5. So I got no. Hold on. I got Jay-Z. I got Jay-Z, Nas, J. Cole, Eminem, Who was my fifth one? It was Biggie. Those my top five, but it changes. So like honestly, like Kendrick about to be in my top five. It changes. And then my top 10, shit, I could go Trick Daddy, go Ross, T.I., Jeezy, Busta Rhymes, like DMX, like I can keep going. But anywho, so Nas, in my opinion, for the recent, I want to say 5 years, he's been my number one. Reason being is that the man 50 years old, but he's putting out quality music. Like he's not putting out just one album every few years. Like he had a run, for, I want to say since like maybe COVID, or a little bit maybe before COVID, but it was definitely from COVID to now. He dropped 6 albums, 6 projects. And King Disease, I believe won him a few Grammys. And for me, it's like, you know, Jay-Z, you know, as far as my generation, he's like the LL Cool J. Cause, you know, it's a debate. You know, people say, is it LL, is it Jay-Z, is it Nas, is it DMX, is it, you know, now, you know, if you come from me from the South, you know, they'll say like T.I. is in that discussion. Jeezy is in that discussion. Some people may say Ludacris, but anyway, and then Scarface, of course, and Cube. But it's just crazy how people disrespect Nas, man. Like, you got Illmatic, you got Stillmatic, you got Godson. Like, those 3 albums alone, like, and that's like back in the day, you know what I'm saying? His longevity is like, people gotta understand. I remember one thing, Jim Jones, and a lot of people, it was a few people that pointed this out. They were saying like how Jim Jones was saying like how Nas don't have any like he don't have like moments. Nas got plenty of moments. One of the moments that he had that hurt my feelings, but I understood where he was coming from. And it started a whole divide, not just with the East Coast and the South, but even with like generations. It was when he put out the Hip Hop Is Dead album, dog. Man, y'all understand? Y'all had to be the like, people feelings was hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like that album and that time, that title changed hip hop. Cause shout out to Soulja Boy, man. Shout out to you. But Soulja Boy was good, but for his style, he wasn't traditional hip hop in a way. You know what I'm saying? So when Soulja Boy, then Franchise Boys, DJ Unk, RP, that whole little era, well, I ain't gonna say little, it was a big era, but that whole Snap era, T-Pain too, great artist, one of the legends. I feel like Nas was trying to, well, he wasn't trying, he actually changed the landscape. People don't even want to talk about this. But that album kind of saved hip hop, because at one point hip hop was just doing this. And you know me, I'm from the South, and you know, we like that. But coming from Florida, coming from Miami, like we had Luke and them, we had we had a Jukin, you know, shout out to Grind Mode and all of them, the Ball Greasy, to Piccolo, Deslock, all of them. But we also had conscious rappers. We had rappers that, you know, like Billy Blue. Billy Blue was considered, you know, lyrical. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Busted Free, you know, Under Surveillance, and all them boys. Like JT Money, you know what I'm saying? You know, of course, Trick Daddy. Of course, Ross. You know, of course, Pitbull at the time, like before he became, you know, Mr. Worldwide. Iceberg. You know, we had rappers that rapped. You know what I'm saying? And at the time, like hip hop was gonna go to a different direction. Well, it wasn't gonna be like, you know, the lyrical stuff was gonna phase out, and that was gonna be really true because we still had some couple people like we Ace Hood. He from Florida. He from Broward County. But I felt like Nas saved it because it was gonna go more towards the. All right, so back in 2015, 2016, we had a. Let me get comfortable a little bit. We had an era what we call the microwave era from I want to say 2013, 14 to maybe to pretty much to COVID. Because right now, like people dropping like you know projects a lot, but it's not like how it was from 2014 to 2020, 2021. Like it slowed down. Like people actually taking their time. People going back to the route where you know you have artists that come out with singles, then they drop albums. Then you have artists that come out with an album every year. Then you have artists that have EPs. So like the EPs are coming back, the mixtapes are coming back. So it's just like it's not just people's not just coming out with albums, just coming out with albums. You know they appreciating the singles, they appreciating having EPs. You know, people starting to get back into you know, how hip hop was, you know, in the early 2000s, late 90s and all that, you know what I'm saying? And in between that gap when it was like, like I said, when Nas saved hip hop from '08 to like 2012-ish, you know what I'm saying? Like, he really saved hip hop. Like, at the time, everybody from the South, everybody, you know, we was the target because, you know, that was the time where we really started to get really, like, it started from the crunk era. The crunk era, people still understand the crunk era you still had lyrical artists. You still had artists that was lyrical, but, you know, they was doing with the 808s, with the crunk music. Then when '07 came around, like '05, '06, '07, it was like, you know, party music, you know, like it wasn't bad or nothing at all. It's just that you started to see what was going and to me I had to look back because I was young at the time. I was in middle school / high school. But now as an adult, I'm like, damn, like hip hop was really about to go to another direction. And I don't know if we would have survived. I don't know if we would have had these artists like a J. Cole or Kendrick or Nipsey RP or Big Sean or Wiz Khalifa or a Jid or Cordae. Like, I don't know if we would have had them artists because of what hip hop was going to at the time. Because you gotta think about it. Nas, for what he did with that album and that whole movement, he opened people's eyes, be like, you could listen to that type of, you know, hip hop, you know, you can have fun, but you still have storytellers that's out there. Cause you remember T.I., Ross, Ludacris, they was in their prime. They was like the OGs. They was trying to be the OGs. Remember, they not young no more. You know what I'm saying? Early 2000s, late 90s, they was young. You know, Eminem, all them, that whole group, you know, 50 Cent, all them, they was considered they was starting to be considered the OGs, but it was in their prime. And you started seeing the music starting to change and people like actually rapping and stuff, people telling their stories and stuff again. And it just changed the whole landscape. And you gotta thank Nas for that. And that's why I'm like, Jim Jones, I love Jim Jones, because even him, he was influenced by Nas. The last few albums he had, projects he had from, I want to say before COVID, like, even when the album Ballin', The album that came out was really good, but for me, Jim Jones really got way better from, I want to say, from 2015 to now. So 10 years he have a run of 10 years of having like good to great music. But come on, bro, like, and it's not just you, it's everybody, dog. Like, stop disrespecting Nas, man. Nas is one of the greats. He one of the GOATs. Um, he don't care about the trend. He don't care about the moments, because he had moments, you know what I'm saying? Nas before King Disease 1, 2, and 3 never won a Grammy. Like, if he did, it was probably like with a future, like as a feature, but him as a solo artist, he never won until King Disease out. Like, man, y'all gotta respect Nas, man, for real, man. Like, Nas is one of them. Like, Nas, like I say, like, music in general, but I'm just speaking specifically for hip hop. You have generations where it's kind of different. Like, it's not. It could be 10 years, but some people could say 5, because you got to think about it. The Migos, Quavo and them, they consider OGs now, because music moves fast. You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about it. Nas, he's like, at one point, Rakim was like the father. And then when J. Cole and all them came in, he was the grandfather. And then Rakim, then, you know, you got Cordae, you got who else? It's a few artists that's very good. Dog, my boys from Buffalo, Griselda and them. Rakim is the great grandfather. Nas and Jay-Z, they great grandfathers now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot of artists that they birth, that they influence, especially Nas. Like, Nas, to me, it's a lot of people under Nas' tree, bro. Jim Jones is under that tree. Jim Jones got his own style, but he's under that tree. J. Cole is under that tree. Kendrick is under that tree. Even though Kendrick reminds me so much of Pop, but Kendrick and Waze remind me so much of Nas because of that poetry shit that you know, it's like he's dissing you, but like with politeness sometimes. But then he could turn up, you know what I'm saying? Like with Ether, you know what I'm saying? That was a moment, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, Nas have so many, like, you know, artists that influence him that we don't talk about. It's like, all right, it's like talking about, like, okay, Jay-Z is like, let me see, what's the coach's name? Lord, the one who invented the West Coast offense. I went blank. But Nas and Jay-Z are like the first generational coaches in terms of modern era, where they literally showed the blueprint, and they gave birth to a lot of artists. And hate it or not, like even Drake, but Drake falls to me under more of a Jay-Z cloth. Wayne falls under that cloth. And Wayne's the OG now. Wayne a grandfather right now. About to be a great grandfather. You know what I'm saying? So music moves so fast that, you know, I can't blame y'all sometimes, because, you know, it's the gaps generational wise with music is far beyond than like regular life. You know, you got these kids that's 21 years old. I'm like, in my head, you 21, right? So you was born in 04. Nas was still Nas. Like, Nas was still in his prime. You know what I'm saying? And then when you was about 5 or 6, hip hop is dead. Nas was out. That was, you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, like, for example, like I said, like Biggie and Pac, I was like 4 or 5 years old, but as I got older, I started, you know, listening to them more. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I knew about them. Same thing even with the artists that's still alive, like, you know, Ice Cube, you know, Scarface. Like, I was not forced to listen to, but like I was there. Like, you know, I would listen to the tapes. Like, you remember my generation, us millennials, we the ones that seen everything. Like, as far as in our young age, we seen cassettes, we seen 8-tracks, we seen DVDs, we seen CDs, we seen vinyls, we seen USBs, we seen iPods, we seen our phones becoming, you know, like we seen streaming. We seen everything, like as far as like a young age. Cause I remember when I was younger, I was like, what is this floppy disk? You know what I'm saying? But I remember we had to learn that, and then, you know, anyway, our generation is the last generation that we could say that we, you know, we held a floppy disk, you know what I'm saying? That we held a cassette tape, you know, VHS, like the CD-ROM, like we physically touched those, like when we was kids, when we was jits, you know what I'm saying? But getting a little bit off the topic, but yeah, man, you gotta respect Nas, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this is an example for every OG. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta respect them, man. We gotta, like, you know, whether it's music, sports, you know, entertainment, anything. Like, especially the ones who changed the game for the good. You know what I'm saying? Like, we gotta, like, you know, show that respect and know, and have our kids learn that history. Because for me, man, my kid's 5 and 2 years old, about to be 5 and 2 years old. I have them listen to the music now, but also the music I used to listen to back in the day, mostly that. And, you know, they be dancing and stuff, and they ask me questions. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know, this is such and such, you know, especially my daughter, like, she getting older now, so she asking more and more questions. So it's just like, our generation, we was sponges. We older now. We gotta have our kids our kids have to go through the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So this is like this whole Jim Jones and Nas thing. Like I said, it was more of respect to Nas, and also we gotta appreciate music. You gotta teach the next generations about, you know, music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember I took a music class, music. I think it was music theory back when I was an undergrad. It's crazy how music evolved, you know, and how like reggae, how first of all how jazz birthed pretty much everything. Jazz, rock, hip hop, reggae, all that stuff, you know. And then, you know, we could talk about how, you know, us black folk did it, but, you know, that's a whole different subject. But it's crazy. Like, I'm thinking, you gotta go back to like the dark ages, classical, all that stuff, and like how music just changed. But it's still there. You know what I'm saying? Like, people still trying to make dark age music and sounds, classical music. Like, everything is still around. You gotta learn and also teach. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. Like I said, just love music, love hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to humble people at times, but that whole mess, man. Come on, bro. Nas, he my goat, low key. He my goat. Like, now, like, man. But this been your boy DJ Anonymous on the episode of Sports Biz Music, the podcast. I am gonna drop another episode because it's another topic I want to talk about too. It's sports related. Give me a few minutes. But we gonna talk about this. But I'm out. Peace.